The air smelled of freshly opened moss, and something else. Something I couldn't name, but that made the back of my neck prickle the moment I stepped among the fir trees. I had the compass hanging from my neck, the camera strapped to my chest, the notebook tight against my hip. And still, I felt I was missing a weapon that didn't exist, a certainty that I wasn't alone. Just 3 days to trace the route of the wild orchids, I told myself, pretending to be brave. The university project depended on my grades, on my photos, on my pulse. But that forest whispered something that didn't fit into any botanical report. On the bark of the pines appeared majestic scratches, deep, 2 meters off the ground. I'm 5'6", and even with my hand raised, I didn't reach halfway. I found huge tracks, 5 claws clearly marked, near the stream. I compared them to the grizzly bear in my field guide. They didn't match. Too wide. Too human. And yet, no crashing in the underbrush, no snapping branches, no howling in the night revealed the culprit. Only that smell. That old vapor of burnt resin and damp earth that always returned when the wind shifted. I set up the tent next to the ravine. The water ran clear, fast, as if fleeing from something. I lit the stove, made freeze-dried soup, and noted down observations in my notebook. But the pencil trembled between my fingers when a log, on the other side of the stream bed, snapped with a dry crack. Just the current pushing, I tried to believe. Even so, I packed up the gear and locked myself under the top before the sky swallowed the last light. That night, the top swelled at intervals, as if something huge was breathing next to it. Sometimes the shadow of a colossal figure blurred the fabric and disappeared. I didn't sleep. I counted heartbeats until I lost track. I gripped the pocket knife, a ridiculous blade against the vast darkness. At dawn, the feeling got worse. On the soft earth, right at the edge of my extinguished campfire, red petals had appeared. They were rare at this latitude, and yet someone, or something, had left them in a perfect circle around my boots. A warning? An offering? I didn't know, but I took out the camera and photographed each flower with sweaty hands. I kept heading north. The trail twisted between rocky canyons. Tiny waterfalls shimmered in the sunlight, and now and then, that smell of burnt resin returned. Stronger. Almost sweet. The wind carried a murmur that wasn't wind. A deep beat low, like a giant drum. It didn't repeat. It only came when I paused to drink. When my breath settled, and the forest suddenly went silent with me. The forest changed its face. Blackened firs, trunks twisted into spirals, roots rising like wooden snakes. I took pictures, noted everything down. Anomalous morphology, possible old burn zone. But no scar of fire explained those warped shapes. At midday, I found a rock wall engraved with symbols, claw over claw interwoven, carved with a precision no human knife could have achieved on such hard stone. When I touched the mark, I felt a chill, and behind it, a low, drawn-out sound, half moan, half whisper, from the mountain's very core. I stepped back, tripped over a fallen trunk, and rolled down a slope until crashing into a patch of ferns. I split my brow. Warm blood trickled down. Then it happened. A strange breeze, almost a caress, swept over the wound, and the sting vanished. I looked. Nothing. The forest untouched, but it smelled clear as ever, of resin and wet earth. I decided to return to base camp. I had enough botanical records. Too many zoological mysteries. The sky dawned overcast. Grey clouds, heavy with bad memory. I packed in a rush. When I started walking, I found the red petals again, this time forming a trail that led into the northern gorge. The area forbidden by the rangers. Frequent landslides, the maps warned. I felt the pull, like a rope tied to my heart. Maybe science needs caution, but curiosity is its original sin. I followed the petals. The rock walls closed in above, squeezing the sky into a pale strip. The echo distorted my steps. They sounded like 4, not 2. The stream became a silver thread among slippery stones. And at the end, an arch of twisted firs hid a massive cave. From its depths came a breath of warm air, aromatic, with that unmistakable trace I already knew. I stood before the entrance. The path of petals ended there. I turned on the headlamp. The beam tore through the gloom and revealed a corridor of polished rock, as if by giant claws. I stepped inside. The light quivered with my fingers. The silence weighed tons. I moved forward. 1, 2, 3 meters, and stumbled over a metallic object. It was my own canteen. I'd lost it the first night, and now it was there, gleaming, clean, as if someone had been keeping it for me. A distant thunder rolled outside. The flashlight flickered. The ground trembled. And then, a roar filled the tunnel like a wave of stone. I didn't see it. Not yet. But I knew the presence that had followed me since day one was closing in. I ran toward the exit. The gorge was caught in sudden rain. Lightning split the sky's strip, and each flash showed, at the summit, a colossal silhouette. Upright, polished by water and light. The storm erased it in seconds, and I, drenched, stumbled downhill until I rolled into a clearing I didn't remember on the map. There, the storm seemed too afraid to enter. The trees formed a perfect circle, like guardians of a secret. In the center, a small stone altar held a deer skull, decorated with scarlet berries. As soon as I crossed the ring of trunks, a shiver ran down my spine, as if the whole forest held its breath. I set down my backpack, took a deep breath, closed my eyes and listened to the beat beneath the earth. A low rhythm, constant, ancient. I opened my eyes. The deer skull had turned, its hollow sockets facing me. I didn't scream, maybe because surprise no longer fit. Instead, I felt a strange impulse. I sang. An old lullaby my mother used to hum when fever took me. The voice trembled at first. Then it rose, slipped through the trees, and the forest seemed to respond. The leaves quivered. The rain ceased in an instant. The air thickened until it smelled like fresh bread. And then it appeared. First came a whisper of snapping branches. Then the trembling ground. Then the shadow, enveloping everything. It emerged from the fir corridor with the solemnity of an eclipse. 8 feet tall, dark chestnut fur soaked, spilling over stone-hard muscles. The claws, black, curved, as long as my fingers, grazed the moss with an impossible delicacy.